Did you know that in just the past year, over 40,000 immigrants have left Australia? Not arrived, but left. That's right. Despite its sunny beaches, booming cities, and promises of a better life, a growing number of migrants are packing their bags and walking away from the Australian dream. Why? What's driving people to leave a country that many once saw as the ultimate destination? Some say it's the skyrocketing cost of living. Others whisper about discrimination, visa nightmares, and broken promises. But the truth? It's far more complicated and shocking than you might think. In this video, we're uncovering 10 powerful, research-backed reasons why immigrants are turning their backs on Australia. And trust me, reason number 7 is something no one talks about, but it's affecting thousands. If you're thinking of moving to Australia or already living there, this might change everything you thought you knew. Stay tuned. Number 1. Soaring cost of living. Let's start with one of the biggest and most obvious reasons immigrants are leaving Australia: the skyrocketing cost of living. Over the last few years, prices across the board have surged. Rent, groceries, fuel, childcare, electricity, you name it. According to data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, inflation hit its highest point in over 3 decades, and while wages had barely budged, everyday essentials keep getting more expensive. For immigrants, especially those still trying to establish themselves, this financial pressure can be unbearable. A single-bedroom apartment in major cities like Sydney or Melbourne can easily cost over $600 per week, and that's before utilities or transport. Meanwhile, grocery bills are climbing faster than most people's paychecks. Families are being forced to choose between quality education for their children or simply putting food on the table. It's not just about money. It's about stability, security, and mental well-being. Many migrants came to Australia chasing the dream of a better life, but instead they find themselves working multiple jobs, struggling to save, and constantly anxious about the next rent increase. Some have even moved to smaller cities or regional towns, only to discover the job opportunities there are limited, and the cost of basic goods remains high due to transport expenses. The harsh reality? Even skilled workers and international students, those who once saw Australia as a land of promise, are now feeling financially squeezed to the breaking point. So, if you're wondering why people are leaving, the answer might be right there in their weekly expenses. Australia may still offer great opportunities, but for many, the cost of staying has become too much to bear. Have you felt the pinch of Australia's rising living costs? Let us know your experience in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories behind migration trends. Number 2. Tougher immigration policies. Another major reason immigrants are leaving Australia is the increasingly complex and restrictive immigration system. What once seemed like a clear path to permanent residency and citizenship has now become a maze of ever-changing rules, long processing times, and growing uncertainty. Over the past decade, the Australian government has introduced stricter visa requirements, especially for skilled migrants and international students. Occupation lists are frequently updated, and many jobs that were once in demand have been removed or placed under tighter scrutiny. This has left thousands of migrants in limbo, stuck on temporary visas with no guaranteed pathway to settle permanently, despite living, working, and contributing to the country for years. For international students, the reality hits even harder. They arrive with dreams of studying, working, and eventually building a life in Australia. But after investing tens of thousands of dollars into education, many discover that post-study work visas offer limited options, and transitioning to permanent residency is much harder than expected. Even partner visas, once seen as straightforward, now come with long waiting periods and higher costs. Family reunification has become more difficult, leaving many migrants isolated and emotionally strained. Worse still, some temporary visa holders are vulnerable to exploitation, especially those reliant on employer sponsorship. They're often afraid to speak up about poor working conditions for fear of losing their visa status. This environment creates a sense of instability and powerlessness. People feel like they're doing everything right, working hard, paying taxes, integrating into society, but are still treated like outsiders. The emotional toll of living in constant uncertainty can be overwhelming. As a result, many immigrants are choosing to leave Australia for countries that offer clearer, faster, and more supportive immigration pathways, where their contributions are not only welcome, but rewarded with genuine opportunities to stay.
Number 3. Difficulty integrating. Moving to a new country is never easy, but for many immigrants in Australia, the challenge isn't just about learning the language or finding a job. It's about something deeper, fitting in, and feeling like you truly belong. Unfortunately, integration remains a major struggle for a large number of newcomers, and it's one of the key reasons many eventually decide to leave. Australia is known for its multiculturalism, yet many immigrants report feeling socially isolated and culturally disconnected. While everyday interactions might seem friendly on the surface, forming meaningful relationships, whether with colleagues, neighbors, or the broader community, can be incredibly difficult. There's often an invisible barrier that keeps migrants on the outside, no matter how long they've lived in the country or how much they try to adapt. Language barriers can also deepen the gap, especially for older migrants or those from non-English speaking backgrounds. Even when someone speaks English fluently, cultural nuances, humor, and workplace dynamics can be hard to navigate. This often leads to misunderstandings, exclusion from social events, and missed opportunities for professional growth. Then there's the subtle but persistent feeling of otherness. Some migrants feel pressured to downplay their culture, accent, or traditions just to fit in, leading to a loss of identity and emotional distress. And for children of immigrants, the struggle can be twofold, trying to balance the values of their family with the expectations of Australian society. Community support systems do exist, but they can be limited or hard to access, especially outside major cities. Without a strong network, many migrants find themselves feeling lonely, misunderstood, and disconnected from the very society they hope to join. For some, the emotional cost of never feeling fully accepted becomes too high, prompting a difficult decision to leave and seek a place where they can build a life with a true sense of belonging.
Number 4. Job market discrimination. One of the most frustrating challenges faced by many immigrants in Australia is discrimination in the job market. Even highly educated and experienced professionals often find themselves overlooked, undervalued, or forced into roles well below their qualifications. This mismatch between skills and employment opportunities is not just disappointing, it's demoralizing. Imagine arriving in Australia with a degree in engineering, years of international experience, and a strong work ethic, only to be told repeatedly, you need local experience. This vague requirement has become a common barrier, pushing many skilled migrants into low-paying jobs just to survive. Some end up driving taxis, cleaning homes, or delivering food, despite being qualified to work in hospitals, offices, or construction sites. Studies have shown that name bias is real. Applicants with non-Anglo names are significantly less likely to receive interview callbacks, even when their resumes are identical to those with more Australian-sounding names. This silent form of discrimination creates a cycle of underemployment, where migrants are locked out of opportunities that match their abilities. In many cases, overseas qualifications are not recognized, or migrants are asked to go through lengthy and expensive recertification processes. For many, this means starting over in their careers from scratch, an exhausting and often discouraging experience. The impact goes beyond just financial strain. Self-esteem, confidence, and motivation take a serious hit when skilled individuals are repeatedly told directly or indirectly, that they're not good enough. It also creates tension within families, especially when expectations don't match reality. Over time, the feeling of being stuck, despite trying everything, pushes many immigrants to explore other countries where their skills are better valued and job opportunities are more accessible. The Australian job market, while full of potential, can feel closed off to those who don't fit a certain mold, and that's driving talented people away. Number 5. Rising racism and xenophobia. While Australia is often celebrated for its multicultural identity, many immigrants have experienced the different, more painful side of that reality: rising racism and xenophobia. For some, it's not just about feeling different, it's about being treated differently, sometimes subtly and sometimes openly. Reports and surveys in recent years have revealed an increase in racially motivated incidents, especially during times of national stress, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Migrants from Asian, Middle Eastern, and African backgrounds have spoken out about being harassed in public, targeted online, or even physically threatened, simply because of how they look, speak, or dress. But racism isn't always loud or violent. It can be quiet and institutional, showing up in the workplace, in schools, or when applying for housing. It's being passed over for promotions, ignored in meetings, or constantly having your name mispronounced without apology. These small daily experiences add up, creating a deep sense of exclusion and frustration. Children of immigrants often face bullying in schools, and adults frequently feel they must tone down their culture to fit in. Over time, this emotional toll can be just as damaging as more obvious forms of discrimination. It chips away at a person's sense of identity and belonging. For many immigrants, the dream was to find a country where they could live safely, contribute meaningfully, and raise their children without fear. When that dream is repeatedly undermined by racism, whether overt or systemic, it leads people to ask, is this really home? And for more and more migrants, the painful answer is no. Rather than endure years of subtle rejection, they're choosing to leave, seeking a place where diversity is not just tolerated, but genuinely embraced.
Number 6. Mental health struggles. The emotional weight of migration is often invisible, but for many immigrants in Australia, mental health struggles are a harsh and daily reality. Moving to a new country comes with the stress of starting over, new culture, new systems, new social rules. But when these pressures are combined with financial strain, social isolation, and uncertainty about the future, the impact on mental well-being can be overwhelming. Many migrants face chronic stress, anxiety, and depression, often in silence. They're far from family support networks, trying to navigate complex visa processes, dealing with job market rejection, and sometimes facing open discrimination. All of this creates a heavy emotional burden. The pressure to succeed in a new country often means pushing through without rest or support, leading to burnout. In many cultures, mental health is still a taboo topic. As a result, many immigrants are reluctant to seek help even when they're struggling. Add to that the language barriers, lack of culturally sensitive mental health services, and the cost of private therapy, and it's easy to see why so many suffer in silence. Even those who manage to build stable lives often report a deep sense of loneliness and disconnection. They miss important family events, grieve silently through loss, and constantly feel caught between two worlds, never fully belonging in either. For some, these mental health challenges reach a breaking point. The emotional toll becomes greater than the opportunities Australia offers, leading them to consider returning home or relocating to countries with stronger community networks or better support systems. Mental health is often the hidden cost of migration. And while Australia has many strengths, the lack of adequate mental health support for immigrants is a serious issue that's quietly pushing people away, one exhausted soul at a time.
Number 7. Visa uncertainty and exploitation. One of the most distressing realities many immigrants face in Australia is visa uncertainty,
a constant fear of losing legal status or being forced to leave after investing years into building a life. Australia's complex visa system, especially for temporary workers, students, and bridging visa holders, creates an environment of deep instability. And with that instability comes vulnerability, often in the form of workplace exploitation. Temporary visa holders, such as international students or sponsored workers, are often tied to a single employer, making them heavily dependent and afraid to speak up about unfair treatment. There are countless reports of migrants being underpaid, overworked, and threatened with visa cancellation if they complain. Some work well beyond the legal limit for student visas just to afford rent and tuition. Others are stuck in abusive workplaces, fearing that if they quit, they'll lose their path to permanent residency. This situation creates a power imbalance, where employers hold too much control and migrants have too few protections. While there are legal frameworks in place to prevent exploitation, in reality, many migrants don't know their rights or feel too intimidated to use them. The ever-changing rules around eligibility for permanent residency only add to the stress. Occupation lists are revised frequently, visa processing times can stretch into years, and one policy change can suddenly derail someone's entire migration plan. After investing so much, emotionally, financially, and professionally, many find themselves back at square one. This constant uncertainty takes a toll. It affects mental health, career progression, and the ability to plan for the future. Over time, the dream of settling in Australia begins to feel more like a gamble, and for many, it's just not worth the risk anymore. Instead, they choose to start fresh in a country where the rules are clearer and the system fairer.
Number 8. Better opportunities elsewhere. While Australia has long been seen as a land of opportunity, other countries are now becoming more attractive destinations for skilled migrants. As global demand for talent rises, countries like Canada, Germany, New Zealand, and even parts of Asia are offering clearer, faster, and more supportive pathways to permanent residency and citizenship. For many immigrants, the comparison is stark, and Australia is starting to fall behind. In Canada, for example, the immigration system is point-based and transparent, with consistent updates and dedicated pathways for professionals, students, and families. In Germany, skilled workers are welcomed through streamlined visa programs, and many can secure permanent residency within just a few years. These countries are not only recognizing foreign qualifications more fairly, but also offering strong social support systems and integration programs. By contrast, Australia's immigration process has become more restrictive, uncertain, and inconsistent. Even skilled migrants who meet all the criteria often face long wait times, limited job recognition, and sudden policy changes that disrupt their future plans. For international students, the cost of education is high, and the return on investment isn't always clear when compared to more affordable and welcoming systems elsewhere. Many migrants do a cost-benefit analysis and come to a difficult conclusion. Why stay in a country where the system feels stacked against you when others are actively encouraging migration and rewarding it with security, opportunity, and respect? This isn't about giving up, it's about choosing better. As more countries compete for global talent, Australia risks losing its appeal unless it adapts. For now, many immigrants are voting with their feet, leaving in search of countries that don't just offer a better life on paper, but deliver it in practice, with less red tape and more genuine inclusion.
Number 9. Education system challenges for families. For immigrant families, education is often one of the biggest motivations for moving to Australia. The promise of high-quality schools, a safe learning environment, and future opportunities for their children is incredibly appealing. But once settled, many discover that the reality doesn't always match the expectation, and these challenges are prompting some families to reconsider their decision to stay. One of the first hurdles is the cost of education, especially for those on temporary or non-permanent visas. Public schools, while generally free for citizens and permanent residents, can charge thousands of dollars in fees for international students and temporary visa holders. For families with multiple children,
this can quickly become financially unsustainable. Then there's the issue of access and quality. While Australia has excellent schools, competition for spots in top public schools, particularly in major cities, is intense and often linked to expensive catchment areas. Private schooling is an alternative, but with yearly fees ranging from $10,000 to $40,000 per child, it's out of reach for many immigrant families. Beyond affordability, some parents express concerns about cultural inclusion and support within schools. Children from migrant backgrounds may face bullying, stereotyping, or a lack of understanding about their cultural identity. Without adequate support systems, these experiences can affect both academic performance and emotional well-being. Additionally, parents often struggle to engage with the education system due to language barriers, unfamiliar school structures, or lack of community networks. They want the best for their children, but feel excluded from meaningful participation in their education. Over time, these challenges lead many families to ask whether Australia is truly offering their children the bright future they envisioned. When the answer is uncertain, some make the difficult decision to leave and seek out education systems abroad that are more affordable, accessible, and inclusive.
Number 10. Lack of family or social support. One of the most deeply felt challenges among immigrants in Australia is the absence of close family and social support. While moving abroad offers new opportunities, it often comes at the cost of leaving behind parents, siblings, lifelong friends, and familiar communities. Over time, the emotional weight of this separation can become too heavy to carry alone. In many cultures, extended families play a vital role in daily life, helping raise children, providing emotional support, and offering a safety net during tough times. In Australia, where most immigrants live in nuclear family setups, or even alone, this kind of support is often missing. When a child falls sick, when parents need help managing work and family, or when someone simply needs a shoulder to lean on, there's no one close by. Building new social connections isn't always easy. Between work, language barriers, and cultural differences, making genuine friendships can take years, if it happens at all. Even when migrants form new circles, these are often surface level and lack the depth or trust found in long-term relationships back home. Loneliness is more than just a feeling. It can lead to poor mental health, lower life satisfaction, and a sense of isolation that slowly eats away at motivation and well-being. Celebrating holidays without family, raising children without grandparents, or going through life's ups and downs without a support system takes a real toll. Many immigrants try to bring their family members over, but strict visa rules and financial barriers often make reunification difficult or impossible. Eventually, some begin to feel that the sacrifices no longer make sense. For those who value community, connection, and family above all, the lack of support in Australia becomes a powerful reason to leave, not for better jobs or money, but simply for the comfort of being surrounded by loved ones again. The image of Australia as a land of endless opportunity, golden beaches, and a better life has drawn millions of immigrants from around the world. But behind the postcard-perfect scenery lies a more complex reality, one that many migrants are now confronting head-on. As we've explored, reasons like the soaring cost of living, visa uncertainty, racism, job market discrimination, and lack of social support are not isolated issues. They're interconnected, creating a daily struggle that slowly erodes the hope many arrived with. For some, it's the endless paperwork and unclear immigration pathways. For others, it's the emotional toll of raising children without family, working jobs far below their qualifications, or enduring subtle forms of exclusion and isolation. The promise of a better future begins to feel like a distant dream, and the reality of living in Australia no longer justifies the sacrifices. It's important to note that not every migrant leaves with bitterness. Many still carry gratitude for the experiences, safety, and education they received. But gratitude can coexist with disappointment.
And when people begin to realize that their potential, their well-being, or their children's future might be brighter elsewhere, they make the hard choice to move on. This isn't just a story about people leaving a country. It's a story about people searching for a place where they feel seen, valued, and supported. A place where they can not only survive, but thrive. As global migration becomes more competitive, Australia will need to listen closely to these stories because behind every departure is a message. A message that says the dream is worth fighting for, but only if it lives up to the promise. And for many immigrants, that promise is no longer enough to stay.